Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live stream from the Podcast Editor Academy. I have some special guests with me here today. Not in the back room today, but my co-host here, Mr. Mark Deal.
Hey, Steve.
Oh, wait. I always get that wrong. And then Brady Bunch style below me is the Arielle Nissenblatt. Is it Nissenblatt or Nissenblatt?
Nissenblatt, like this and that.
Yeah, if I say it enough times, then everybody's going to hear it. And my camera is going wonky today. Thank goodness for technology,
having some issues.
Yay. And then over on the bottom quarter is Mr. The Rock, not The Rock Dwayne Johnson, but Rock from SquadCast.
How's it going? Thanks for having us, guys.
Hey, thanks for coming. You guys are sponsoring our one-day event in Dallas, Texas on August 23rd. And I thought it would be a really good opportunity to get you guys on a show or on a live stream with us to talk about some of the things that our community is full of: the service providers, the people who not just edit the audio, but sometimes also coordinate the recordings. Sometimes they're there facilitating the recordings. Sometimes they're engineering, they're virtual studio engineers, while their guest and the co-host, while their client and their co-hosts are recording. So I'd like to get some ideas from you on how my community can help to better facilitate those types of things. So Arielle, you're a community manager for SquadCast. You're very in tune with people like in the seats using the product. So what are some of the best practices you think people can use with SquadCast that will allow them to help their clients through a better recording?
We love a pre-interview. We love a sound check, and we love just becoming aware of remote recording services in general and how they tend to work. So maybe as a service provider, you are familiar with SquadCast, maybe you're familiar with Boomcaster, Riverside Zencaster. They all, generally speaking, have the same panels and buttons to press, and when you're recording what it looks like. Of course, I'm biased. I think the final product that SquadCast puts out is going to be the best, but generally speaking, once you are familiar with them, you can become familiar with all of them. And so I'm just a big fan of giving yourself the time to become familiar with them and then walking your clients through that so that they can have the best chance at having the best quality recording, and their guests as well.
Is it best to do it 15 minutes before? You're demanding a lot of time if you're doing a sound check. Are we talking about doing a 5-10 minute sound check a couple days before? What do you suggest?
Yeah, up to you and what your clients have in terms of time. Something that we suggested on a recent YouTube video was that if you tend to put out a 30-minute episode of your podcast, maybe that's a 20-minute interview. You schedule them for 45 minutes so that you have a few minutes at the front to do the warm-up and then a few minutes at the back to do the breakdown, to cool down a little bit with your conversation, talk about next steps, talk about social assets and sharing and things like that. And 45 minutes should be great to give you a 30-minute episode of your podcast, 20 of that being your interview, and then a few minutes on each side for your intro and outro.
And my guess for the person who's going to be that virtual studio engineer, record everything. Record it all. Don't miss a moment. If you're going to do some pre-chat or some post-chat, go ahead and just keep capturing the audio, because there's going to be some gold nuggets there. I know that there have been people who have recorded things, after they thought they were done, and it turned out to be some of the best content that they were able to then go through and share through the episode. One of the things I definitely want to learn is what happens when things go wrong. You've got a guest, or you got a camera that keeps dropping like this, because I know that with SquadCast you can do both audio and video.
That is true.
And we're recording both separate tracks, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
SquadCast records audio and video since January of 2021. If you don't know this, now you know this. What happened was that for a while we just did audio recording. We always had the visual component, but we only started recording the video in January of 2021. So for a while, people were like, oh, SquadCast doesn't record video. We record video. We want you to use the video. And when I'm really excited, I use my Obama pointing fingers. This is how he talks.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, he always does this.
Okay.
I think that was a Bob Dole thing before.
Oh, really?
Well, you got to have a pen in your hand.
I'm that old.
Yeah. So let's say we've got a guest on there. They've got no headphones, no microphone. What are you going to recommend the the client, or not the client, but the person, the service provider who's organizing all this stuff, what are some of the best practices they can do to get better audio out of somebody who has no real gear?
Well, to be honest, you don't need a microphone to sound great with SquadCast. I was amazed at this. When I first started using SquadCast a few months before I worked for SquadCast, I was recording a podcast with my friend who did not have a microphone, did not have nice headphones. She just had Apple headphones, wired headphones that you get with the new when you get a new iPhone, and she sounded great. And once we got the microphone, she got like an okay microphone to the point that I could not tell the difference between her audio with the new microphone that she bought with real money and the headphones. Yes, those work fine. It's pretty amazing what you can do with those.
I agree. I've had people use these before too, and as long as they don't allow them to rub on their shirt and stuff, and they're not holding it with their fingers, this can be a fantastic sounding mic for somebody who has nothing else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yes, if you are in a scenario where a guest or a host says, forgot my mic, forgot my headphones, I only have AirPods, don't let them use AirPods. Pretty much that. I think that's worse than not having AirPods. Rock, would you agree with that?
I mean, I'm a big AirPod Bluetooth user, and she's right. It does oftentimes just add complications and complexity, even though I love how convenient they are. But
for
yeah,
listening, they're great, right?
They're great for
phone
listening,
calls, they're great.
yeah, there's just too much that can go wrong for various reasons. And like Arielle said, you don't really need a fancy setup to look and sound amazing, but having some type of external equipment is definitely going to help improve the quality. If that does happen, though, SquadCast, if that does happen, the scenario where you're not going to be able to reschedule, you're going to have to record with what they got. They don't have headphones, all the worst kind of factors at play here. SquadCast does allow you to still record without headphones or a microphone, even though we highly encourage it. Yeah, great job, Mark. You're the man. So we do have a button that says if you're wearing headphones or not. Previous or longtime SquadCast users will know this button as echo cancellation. We've simplified it to just make it more, hopefully, easy to understand, where if you're wearing headphones, the button is clicked on, but if you're not, click it off, and you can still have a good experience. It does lower the quality a little bit, but not enough to where it's really going to be picked up by the end listener, and you're still going to be able to proceed with your content creation in lieu of having some of those other equipment. So we really try to be as flexible to all the type of workflows that are possible. And so we can also talk about that, but we're very aware of the best practices, and a lot of the feedback has been guided from the folks like you in the podcasting space. You all are a trusted source for so many podcasters. So to get buy-in from your community, the service provider community, has been a huge part, and a lot of where the latest update, a lot of the features and benefits came from direct feedback from the service providers who are working on different shows with different clients and want to easily access them all without having to, all within the same login account. So we can unpack that a little bit later. But yeah, back to your original question, Steve, we can do it even without headphones or microphones, but would highly recommend trying to bring something else other than just your external mic, or internal mic rather.
I like that you go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, let me flip it around on you, and I'll make it a quick response. This is going to be A, B, and I'm not going to ask the SquadCast folks that we have right here. Thank you both for joining. But Steve, I'm going to ask you, the content editor, if you had a choice, would you rather have two great quality microphones on one track, or would you have whatever can be recorded on separate tracks?
I like them on separate tracks regardless of what the quality is. I mean, if they can get better quality mixed track, sure, but most of the time that's not going to happen. Yeah, because as an editor, we should be able to condition each voice differently. We learned from Michelle from Heil the other day that my voice is going to sound different on this microphone than it will on the this is the PR40. It sounds different on a PR30, and worse on a PR22. So I've got to EQ those different. But if it's all mixed in one track, it makes it extremely difficult. So yeah, I really appreciate that SquadCast separates the recording.
Exactly, and that's kind of I agree with Arielle. Whatever works wired up. Any mic is better than not doing the interview at all. And Rock, I agree with you. If you can stay away from Bluetooth, Murphy's Law will bite you right when you're trying to record. So good to hear from you, Steve, on that.
Thank you, Mark. Now, I do want to get a little bit of a tour of the backstage, Arielle, if you were going to show us that.
I'm trying to figure out if I were to do that, how I would just try to get my bearings. So this is Rock. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey.
Cool.
Yes, it is.
Disorienting.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, if you could go ahead and share what it looks like in the backstage, and then pretend like you are being hired to facilitate the recording for your high profile client. They're a CEO of a small company and they're running a business and they're creating content, interviewing some people in the industry. So what would you do in that situation?
Okay, very excited to share my screen. Just a second.
Sure. And while Arielle's setting that up, if anybody has any questions, feel free to comment on the videos below. I know we're streaming to Podcast Editors Club. We're also streaming to the Podcast Guest Experts Club. So I think we're going out to about 11,000 people, audiences right now. So if you have questions, comment below. And Arielle, whenever you're ready, we'll go ahead and put that up on screen. But, no rush. Again, questions, put them in.
Let me know if you can see this. No.
Not yet.
Just a second. Okay, here we go. That should work. That felt like it worked.
Oh, there we go.
Lovely. Okay, that's me. This is my SquadCast account. Is it big enough for everybody to see? Okay, perfect.
Yes, and I've muted myself, so I'm not going to interrupt.
Okay. Well, this is the new Backstage. This is the new dashboard situation that goes on at SquadCast. This replaces what you may have remembered was the sort of very long, unending list of recordings that you had on SquadCast at one point. Now it's broken up a lot, and I will walk you through that. So over here on the left, you can see my different workspaces. So I am currently part of two different workspaces, and one of them is my own and the other one is Zach Moreno's, and you can see Zach has indicated that it's his workspace by way of a signature. I have not customized this part of my studio, but then within my studio I have two different shows. One of those is my general recordings that I use for if I just want to set up a chat with Rock, or if I would just want to record something miscellaneous, I'll do that in here. The other one is for my podcast that is called Feedback with Earbuds, podcast recommendation podcast. And because everything got migrated from the old SquadCast, I don't have anything yet in the new show that I created, but I have everything here. So this will take you back to all of the recordings that I've done. You can see all of them. It goes on forever because I've been using SquadCast for a long time user. So let's talk about what it means to set up an instance session. So this is going to be here for me. And if I wanted to just quickly get Rock onto my session with me, I could or I could write it into the stage or to the stage. But most likely I would just copy that link and post it into Slack, and then Rock would jump on with me. Some cool things that I can do behind the scenes also, I can go to my show settings and I can change this. So say I wanted to talk about another, or let's add another one just for funsies. So say you are a podcast editor and you work on 5 different podcasts, and you want to group them in a way that helps you stay organized. Maybe one of them is called the Wire Cutter podcast. I don't know why that came to my brain. And then maybe you want to just make a note for yourself. This is Carla's podcast. And then maybe releases on Tuesdays. That might be helpful for you to know. So then you can add the show members. You can add Carla. You can add whoever else is part of that show. And then you can add an image, and then you can create that show. So now I am going to group all of my recordings that have to do with Wirecutter Podcast into my new show that I just created. The new Wirecutter Podcast has been added, and here it is. Because it doesn't have an image, it's just going to have this default image. There you go. Thank you for all the pointing. Very, very helpful. Okay, so let's go back to something that I have a little bit more of my things populated. So I recorded an interview recently with this guy named the Gem City Dudist Priest. I wish I could tell you what that name meant. We actually met on TikTok. Very interesting. He was like, I would like to interview you about podcasts. I was like, I will not say no to an interview pretty much ever, to a fault. But here we are. So we recorded this. And we recorded video and audio, and you can see that it was migrated over from when SquadCast was the old SquadCast. So that's why it's going to have this information over here. We can watch it, so I can see a preview. Actually, I can see the whole thing, but I can figure out if this is what I want to download. This is the Gem City Dudas Priest. Shout out to him and his beard. And then this was me at the time. Beautiful, as always. And then, as you all know, I can mix the audio, or I can download them in separate tracks. And then I can download, or I can select all. Lots of different options over here. So that was a while back. And then I also recently recorded with Zach, and you can see that this was not migrated over because it doesn't have that tag that says migrated. But you can see Zach over here. Zach, who is our co-founder of SquadCast. There he is, SquadCast hat. If you want a SquadCast hat, let us know. And yeah, so that's sort of what the back end will look like. And if you're working with a bunch of different shows and they're recording without you, you can be added to their workspace so that when they're finished, they can let you know that they have a new episode out or ready to be edited, and you should go in and grab it, download it in the isolated tracks, do your thing, and then send it to them however you like to send it to them. Fun news, we have we now integrate with Descript, so you can edit in Descript right from within SquadCast. If you have an account with Descript, you'll just have a button that says edit in Descript. And you can also automatically drop things into Dropbox because we have an integration with Dropbox. So we're just trying to make it as streamlined as possible so that you don't have to download, then upload, then upload, then download. You can do it in as few download uploads as possible.
Yeah, I was just having a conversation with a client of mine who uses a recording service, and then I'm like, I got to go into your account and I got to download. And like, well, can't we make that simple? I'm like, yes. Remember the instructions I gave you 2 years ago? So it's definitely becoming more common, and I'm glad you guys tune in or tie into Dropbox, Google Drive, things like that. Now, is there any kind of automated scheduling feature in here? Or do you integrate with scheduling apps? I think this is actually a question from Mark. I'm stealing Mark's question.
You can take my question, Steve, because I definitely was going to ask that. Because not only do we have podcast editors and producers, but we have showrunners and show managers and booking agents watching us now. So they want to know about integration. So thank you, Steve.
Yeah, so we have a few examples of softwares that we're that we are integrated with, but we also have opportunities for you to integrate further. So number one, this is a cool one that came about via Twitter. Somebody tweeted that they would like to see SquadCast integrate with SavvyCal, and Zach hopped on it, and I think they got that done in like a day. They were able to to figure out that integration within a day. The founder of SavvyCal is Derek Reimer, I believe is his name. And we figured it out on Twitter, and we were just very transparent and open about the whole process. And I think it was thanks to Jay Klaus, who is a podcast creator and Twitter creator, who helps creatives, classic. And we figured it out, and now we have an integration with SavvyCal, so that's a scheduling tool. We also have, I believe, so we have lots of new webhooks and APIs and Zapier integrations, so you can do lots of different setups that way. Rock, do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So the SavvyCal integration is more like a direct integration, and so it's really easy for the end user to set up on their own without any like real technical knowledge. I was able to do it pretty effortlessly, and we do have docs on how to do that as well. But that's a really seamless one. But of course, there's other options out there. There's Calendly, there's Acuity, there's a few others. So we don't have direct integrations with them like we do with SavvyCal. However, that's where the Zapier integrations that Arielle mentioned, you can essentially create those yourselves. It does take a little bit more work and a little bit of, you don't have to be a technical expert, but you just can't be afraid of it, I guess. And so we do have instructions on how to set those up as well, but it does take a little bit more time and effort. We do want to add a lot more integrations now that our API version 2 is out. That was a part of this latest release. The Descript integration was the first one part of that. So we will definitely be expanding our integrations when it comes to scheduling, but also sending files to editors, publishers. We're also working on some fun stuff with companies like Headliner. So the integration story will become more thing over time. And so would love to hear what other integrations people are interested in. Someone just let me know that they would like the ability to record from SquadCast and have it integrated with Twitter Spaces in some way. So stuff like that, publishing directly to YouTube. We got a lot of things in ideas in mind and for integration. So would love to hear what other folks are interested in. There's more to come.
Well, I know since you're now tuned into Descript, maybe you can integrate the removal tool before it even gets to Descript. So it just takes the ums out automatically.
That is not a bad idea.
You can make it happen, right?
I believe so.
Mark,
anything's possible.
Yeah, Mark, you also had another question that I'm not going to steal from you.
Yeah, I'll save that towards the end. And really is just general interview advice. But I really love exploring the whole integrations because as people, not your first episode, not your second episode or 10th episode, and as people, they're not working with their first client or their second client, but maybe their 10th client and hundreds of episodes, to know that integration with something as powerful as SquadCast is possible using Zapier, essentially the duct tape of the internet APIs. I love it. It sounds okay. Yeah, Rock. It sounds like you're in agreement with that. The fact that you guys can integrate with that and then plug in anything else opens a world of possibilities. It's almost like a roll your own integration. If you want to email or SMS somebody or whatever, you could handle all that in Zapier, as well as just booking through Calendly, Acuity Scheduling, Book Like a Boss, probably pretty much all those calendar apps that plug into Zapier, which most of them do. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And it's good to know that the possibilities are pretty much endless there with Zapier, integration of Zapier, and then to connect with others. And the fact that you have the tutorials like, hey, how exactly do I set up this Zap, as they call it? And if you've got, here's how somebody did it to work, that's great.
We do have a question from Rye. Rye is asking, does SquadCast contain the ability to create and share audiograms?
You want just a quick answer? The answer is no. But
not yet.
Not yet.
But now you integrate with the script, which does, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
They do
headliner passed.
Headliner as well. Yeah, that's exactly what our frame of thinking is for that, because we're very aware of our place in the production workflow, which is right in the middle of it. We think it's the funnest part. That's where all the magic happens. But we also want to play nicely with the other parts of the workflow and really integrate seamlessly to make it just easier on the creator, speed up the production process, less things to download, less hoops to jump through. So I think, like what you said, Steve, if we can cut out some stuff that even gets to those platforms, like, hey, why not? Like, if that speeds up things, isn't lowering the quality or reliability, like that's what we're here for.
Yeah, we really try to prioritize the recording. So what you download from your in-app session with SquadCast is going to be super high quality video and audio. And you take that and you make magic with it by way of Headliner, by way of Descript, by way of, lots of other post-production tools that can make you shine. Canva, lots of different ways. Love Canva.
I know that you guys have had a lot of experience doing, working obviously on SquadCast, but have you seen, or can you share some stories about some really cool things that people have done with recordings from SquadCast? Not just putting them out as podcast episodes or YouTube videos, but I'm sure we're talking about creating audiograms. What about things that people have used some of the SquadCast recordings for, other than just straight up putting it out there?
That's a great question. One of our unique use cases is that people also use SquadCast to record books, to record audiobooks. So that's a fun one. You would think that people just use SquadCast to record podcasts or to, record interviews for YouTube. But we're also seeing more people record for TikTok. So that's really fun to see the SquadCast recorded videos pop up on TikTok. We also have a page called SquadCast.fm/share, where if you record on SquadCast and take a squad shot or take a video, and then you share it with us at SquadCast.fm/share, we share that with the world. We share that on the internet. We share that in our newsletter. We will very happily show off that you are using SquadCast, and I don't think enough people know this, because that's my job as the community manager, is to be like, you love us? Okay, we love you right on back. Let's show it off to the world.
We love pretty hard.
Yeah.
That's fun. I don't think, yeah, I definitely didn't know about that. So that's very interesting. Squadcast.com, squadcast.fm/share.
That's right.
No
Thanks for putting it
.com
up.
though, huh?
No, we should probably get it at some point.
That's okay. I don't have
There
a
is-
.com either.
I definitely know. I think there is a SquadCast.com, and they often get mistaken. People will be like, we weren't able to find support documents about SquadCast on SquadCast.com. And we're like, yeah, because that's like an enterprise like healthcare solution.
Yeah, SteveStewart.com is owned by a guy who does some like booking agents. He's been doing it since at least 1997, since he
Wow.
bought the domain.
Yeah,
so.
well, at least your name isn't 2 4-letter word action verbs. So that's where I get my .com. But
Mark, deal, those are very popular words.
exactly,
And a name.
exactly.
Yeah.
And a name, as you see with me. All right, so we've got a comment, and I think this will actually pop up pretty frequently in both the editing, production, as well as the guest booking spaces. If I'm only editing a show, do I need to have an account with SquadCast if my clients are using it? Or does it make sense for me to have a SquadCast account and record the episodes for my clients? So maybe let's focus on that first question first, because the second one I think could get into the whole you're a producer, you're a director type thing.
yeah.
Steve, you might agree, but what about the first one? If you've got one client, maybe you got many clients, can you work with their SquadCast accounts?
Yeah, so that you would need to have your clients invite you as a team member to the show or organization, and you would be able to access whatever you have permission to access. There's 3 roles on SquadCast. There's a show manager, which essentially has pretty much all the controls. A show talent, which is more so like for a guest, or if it is a host who doesn't want to have any control, sometimes like the producer or coach or there's like a manager or something. They are the ones that are handling all the controls. So you want to just have them be a talent and not kind of have any opportunity to mess things up. That's the show talent. And then there's a file manager role, which is purely for somebody who just needs to log into SquadCast, access the files, pull them themselves. So you don't have to have your clients download or send anything to you. You can just go and access and retrieve it yourselves. So those would be the 3 roles that you have the ability to invite them as, and that would be the easiest way, unless you want to have your own account and record your own content. But if you're not recording content, you can just get invited as a team member.
And
Easy
that's at
peasy.
any level?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So
great.
the amount of team members that you can invite and the amount of shows that you can have in an account do depend on which pricing plan or which subscription plan you have. But each plan has the ability to invite team members. It's just different in the amount.
So you could be an editor or a post-production producer, but you could have 10 clients that have just a SquadCast account for just one show each, and each one of them give you file management, maybe not the SquadCast management, but file management. And then you, as the editor or producer, you could see 10 shows and be able to pull those files in and do your production while your 10 clients have their account.
Yes. And you would have your own special login credentials that you wouldn't have to interrupt them for. So, I mean, and this is really what we're seeing, the evolution of creators in general, where we're seeing more production teams, folks increasing the team size. And this is what we think it takes to evolve and become and to level up as a creator. So we want to empower that. And that's why every subscription plan offers the ability to have multiple shows and team members, because we want to empower that growth from every stage of the creator's journey.
Excellent.
So I can have one login and get to all those shows if they've invited me under the same email account?
That's correct, Steve. The old
So much
SquadCast,
easier.
that was not the case. Yeah.
Okay. Because I have to tell you, I get people's they share their passwords with me through LastPass. Sometimes they give me their passwords and I enter them and I save them in LastPass, because I don't want to be responsible for obviously memorizing all these things, or I'm not writing them down anywhere. Because if something happens, my computer's compromised and it affects them, not a good thing. So if I can have one login to my account and all they had to do was add me as a member to theirs, oh my gosh, it's going to be so much better. Plus, if I can get them all in one place, man.
Yeah, it's
I
going
love
to
that.
look like what I showed you before, where you have access to all these different shows.
Can you show us that, Arielle? Can you
I'm
show us that
happy
spot?
to.
So there you go. While Arielle's setting that up, please share us your SquadCast login credentials and password in the comments below. No, okay, I'm kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. But that's great that you can say, hey, Steve, you don't get my login, but I will give you, as my editor producer, file access. So after I'm done recording, you can have access to it. That's kind of cool.
So if I go here and I give permissions to my editor, I have not done this yet, actually. I want to invite dan.turek@gmail.com. And now once he receives that, he can go in and grab my files going forward. And then instead of me having to download the files, upload them to WeTransfer, he can just do it this way.
Sorry, I was muted. Of course I was muted. That's
Wouldn't be a live stream without you muting yourself, Steve.
That's right. And we're going to fix this. We're going to fix this problem here. Here we go. Thank you. Now I feel so much better about our layout.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just as easy to add people to, we're still left and right, but we're just enough to add people to so the client, they'll add us to their accounts. If they're using the same email account, because I've got a Gmail and I've got my branded name, and I always use my branded name, but some people, like Google accounts, have to be my Gmail account. I'm like, well, I want to use this one over here. So it is the same email address that'll tie those together.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so just make sure you're sharing the same email address with your clients.
Right. So then I'm going to be sitting there. I'm going to be, if I'm coordinating the recordings, I've reached out to the guest. I know what my client's schedule is, so I can arrange that. We schedule it inside Riverside. To SquadCast. We share it out to everybody who's involved. Do you have like Google Calendar integration there? Outlook? I mean, how do people add it to their own calendars to make sure they don't double book themselves on something else?
Yeah. So aside from the SavvyCal integrations or any other Zaps that are set up via Zapier, when you do invite someone via email, an invitation email is sent automatically from SquadCast, which really just lets you know that, hey, you've been invited from this person to this show at this time. And then it also includes links where you can sync it up to your calendar, like Google Calendar, Outlook, Apple Calendar as well. We will add integrations to make that a smoother experience, because we know it can be nice. I mean, Google Calendar is like where I live a lot of times. So yeah, we know that this could be a tremendous benefit for folks. And so, like I said, the integrations, we have a whole list of integrations that we want to include for folks. So like Google Drive would be another one. So yeah, so like, let us know what else you have in mind and we'll get it on the list. But a lot of that stuff is to come if you don't want to just wire it up yourself now with Zapier.
Yeah, and I know there's quite a few people in our community that uses Zapier, but to do it, it's just a button. Makes everything
right.
So
we want to give most. Yeah. That's the goal, the end goal.
Yeah, I'm so worried about a guest, not showing up, and that just sucks, because they forgot to put in their calendar. Folks, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We've got Arielle and Rock both here from SquadCast.fm to answer your questions about how to be that virtual studio engineer. So I'm sitting there, I'm recording with my host, who's my client, their co-host or their guest, and their internet is crappy. What are some of the things that we can do to make their internet stronger, that their signal comes through more clearly? What am I worried about if they've got crappy internet?
Yeah, I can speak a little bit to some solutions to how to make their internet a little bit better. The first is that if you are recording video and you can't compromise on that, you've got to record video. One thing you can do is hide the incoming video. And that does not mean that it's not recording. It just means that you're not going to see the other person. So that will help you a little bit with your bandwidth.
That's clever. I don't think I've seen or heard anything about that before. That's really good.
Yeah,
like that. So I wouldn't see you or Mark, but it would still be recording.
Right, exactly.
And Rock's got the strong internet, so that Rock would still be showing up.
I would hope
exactly.
so.
Okay, great. And I see we have a comment or a chat. Another question from, looks like from Rye again. Does anyone who is recording need to download an app, or is it browser-based? We'll stop there and answer that question. I'll come back to the second one.
You do not need to download an app. It is browser-based.
Yep. How about iOS, Android?
Available to you, yes.
Yes.
You can go to SquadCast.fm on a phone, and you can use whatever browser you want, and you can use the app in mobile form.
Okay. Does recording happen on each user's computer, or is it immediately recorded to the cloud?
To the cloud.
Both.
Yeah, I was going to say it's both, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
supposed to be
Yep.
captured locally, and then it just uploads progressively?
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah. Progressively is the key word there, right?
Progressively
think
is
so.
very much the key word. And go ahead, Rock.
No, you go.
No, you go, because I don't know if I'm allowed to say what I
Someone
wanna
tell
say.
me what it is, because I'm
You're allowed to say it. Yeah, I know what
Okay.
you're going to say. Go ahead.
Okay, we are very proud to share that our progressive uploading technology, is this what I'm allowed to say?
Yes.
You say it, I'm scared.
We finally got approved for a patent on the recording
Yes.
engine.
Oh,
It was a long time coming.
Yeah.
Many years of file paperwork and waiting on the government. Thank you, Mark. Yeah. So, yeah, we can officially say we don't have a patent on the name Progressive Upload. So, unfortunately, that is being copied. So you may see that, but the actual underlying technology, the way the recording engine works, is very unique and very different. And so, one of the ways that folks experience that in real time is you don't have to wait around for files to upload. It may take a little bit for it to appear downloadable, and the app will notify you if folks do need to stick around. But generally, it's the fastest and most secure uploads that are currently available, and so you don't have to ask people to like leave their browser open for like a whole day or whatever. People on phones, even worse, would be a long time for these files to upload, and due to our legit progressive upload patented recording engine, it's much faster and easier on all the users.
You know, you did lead me to my last question before I let Mark loose here. Okay, so we've got somebody who does leave their browser before the upload has finished. What's the solution here? We got somebody who's half recorded their stuff. Well, they recorded the whole thing, but it hasn't been synced to the cloud yet. What's going on? What's the next stage?
So there's a few to get out of a session on SquadCast where the recording is in progress. You really have to try. The button to leave session is grayed out, so you really don't have the ability to click it. Even if you click to close your browser, the app will say, "Hey, are you sure your recording's in progress?" So you almost have to like turn off your
Well, if you got a laptop
browser
and your battery dies, I mean,
or that,
then
yes,
that's a scenario where
that's a good point
yeah.
too. So the way that the recording engine works, the progressive upload, the files will be uploaded within an 8-second margin of error. So anything up until that point of failure will be recorded. And
You might lose 7 seconds.
you might lose something like that. For the person who dropped off for whatever reason, all they need to do is rejoin, refresh their page often, or rejoin, restart their computer in the example that you just shared with us, Steve. And they can pick up right where they left off. The recording will still continue for the folks that are still in the recording session, though.
What if we're done and I'm just waiting for the rest of the file to upload, but I've got this very busy author and he's on a book tour, doing interviews on the hour, and he's like, I gotta go.
Let them go. Send them. Say bye. Thanks. Make sure you hit stop, but then from there you're good to go. And
Well,
like I
how long
said,
will it take? Well, then it'll progressively upload, even though he might have closed his browser.
Yep, it's still safe in the cloud. So the audio files generally take usually seconds to upload and appear downloadable. Okay. The video files, because they're large, they contain 720 or up to 1080 resolution, in addition to the wave audio muxed in. So there's a lot going on in the background, but that's usually on average 3 minutes. But even most times folks can leave before then.
So a good rule of thumb there is end your interview 5 minutes before you absolutely have to.
or even 2, even 1. You're fine.
Yeah, it's not that long.
Rule of thumb, 5 minutes, and then, just to be safe. It's their valuable time, which we're taking up your valuable time. Thank you for being here. And thank you, people who are watching. Mark's going to ask a couple questions here about actually interviewing people.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, so I went ahead and threw my question in the comments. So those that are on a tiny device, if you can't hear me, hopefully you can read it as well. So I would like to go around the room and get something from everybody, even from you, Steve. I'll save you for last. What is each one of you, what's your biggest piece of advice for host or guest when conducting these virtual interviews?
Well, I'll just tell you what mine is, and that can be done.
Okay.
Everybody wear
Steve, then you
freaking
go first.
headphones. Headphones and earbuds. That's it.
That's mine.
I don't care what you do. I don't care what service it is. I mean, you got the echo cancellation, sure, but don't use it. Don't rely on it. That's my.
So we actually track
headphones.
that information, Steve, because we were
Oh.
seeing, we were actually surprised how many folks weren't wearing headphones. I think back in 2019 or early 2020, it was about like 30% of the sessions recorded on SquadCast, there was headphones used. I forget what the exact percentage is now, but it is certainly increased. So I think folks are getting way more aware of the benefits and just the how-tos of recording remotely, where I don't think they thought of those previously. So happy to say that, you know, things appear to be moving in the right direction.
Well, anything less than 80% is still unacceptable to me.
Agreed. We got our work to do.
This isn't like we're just popping in and having a meeting. This is, hey, we're going to have a conversation that's going to be recorded. If they forget to tell the guests it's no video and they don't come in with their makeup or hair done or whatever, that's fine. But show up with earbuds or headphones. Okay, I'm done. Sorry. We're done. Everybody knows this. You too.
Well, I mean, the fact that that rate's increasing, and Rock, you guys in SquadCast, when you go to enter, there's a box or something. It comes up and says, "Hey, we recommend you use headphones."
Yes.
Okay, so you probably maybe contributing to that increasing trend of when you guys came out to where you're at today, and people getting used to like, oh yeah, if I wear my, I'll stop my expletives, Steve, before they come out, but I will wear my headphones and it'll sound better.
Freakin'. Freakin.
We'll go with that.
Best interview techniques.
Should I do my biggest piece of advice?
Yeah, love to hear it.
Mine is a combination of production and post-production, but I say use your isolated files to edit. I think mixing is great for if you need a quick mix down to know what things sound like, but to eliminate crosstalk and to make it an overall better experience for the listener who will ultimately be listening to and possibly reviewing and possibly spreading the word about your podcast, you want it to sound really good. You want to cut out unnecessary laughing that goes on for too long, or if it gets boring a little bit, your isolated tracks are going to be the best way to have a great editing experience and then a great listening experience for your listeners.
So I'll go. I think a lot of it you've already spoke to, Steve, but like talking about taking the production seriously, this is more than just a Zoom meeting or whatever that you're going to pop into. So I think like we're really big on preparation. And so we do our best to try to help people set expectations, set their guests and team members up for success. So like you pointed out, Mark, like we have information on the importance of wearing headphones. Of course, we have blog content on it, but there's like actual like information in the app that describes like the benefits or trade-offs for using the different features that we have within SquadCast. And we also provide that information if you invite folks via email, a list of instructions that are helpful, not for just how to use SquadCast, but how to just have a remote virtual kind of recording session in general. And so I think like what we see a lot of times when folks do have issues, it's because the first experience with SquadCast is when they're doing the actual interview and they're learning how to use their equipment on the fly. They're not really thinking about their environment as much as they are their equipment, which can have just as big of an impact on your quality as the actual equipment you have. So I think just I don't want to say not taking it seriously, because I feel like this group is a group that knows that they do take it seriously. So, but yeah, I think we're trying to coach people on how to just be prepared and take this seriously, and that this is way more of an involved endeavor than just showing up for a meeting. Not that it has to be super laborious or stressful. It should be fun. That's really what we're trying to do, is take care of all the heavy lifting when it comes to the technical side, so that you, the creators and production team, can just focus on the content. And that's a tough enough job as is. But yeah, I think like people's kind of expectations and attitudes before approaching some of these things could really help set them up for success, so they're not scrambling to figure things out with that precious time that they have.
Okay. Thank you, Rock.
Thank you.
And Mark's is what?
Oh, turn it back on to me.
Well, it's your question. You said
it is my question. I have a lot of tips and tricks. You know what? I will use one, and this is kind of a callback to what Arielle was saying at the top of the show of going, doing some prep work before you go live. But I would say at least one time during the interview, whether you're the host or the guest, break the fourth wall. Meaning, hey, be open with the person that's listening. Maybe that's one person, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 100, maybe it's a few thousand, or syndicated thousands of times, but everyone is listening, by themselves predominantly. I assume podcast is not being played in a big amphitheater in front of a huge live studio audience, but once per interview, break that fourth wall and talk about, what's happening and the setting. And that's really going to make you stand out from, say, a TikTok video or a YouTube video. I know we're streaming live on YouTube now. Thank you for everyone watching on YouTube and commenting. But in a podcast, break the fourth wall, say something like, "Hey, this is it's kind of fun to be here. What is this? SquadCast. I love what you've done with the place. Light mode, dark mode. What do you have here?" Break the wall, demystify it for the person listening, so they feel like they're actually in that third seat between the host and the guest. But only do it once per interview, because if you overdo it, it gets played out, I think.
Somebody said the
Arielle's
Z word.
great at that.
Yeah, somebody said the Z word, and I want to change that to turn that into a drinking game, except they don't drink.
What's the Z word?
Yeah, with the 4-letter word that starts with
Zoom?
Z. Oh, you did it.
I'm in trouble.
It's too early to have a drink here. Sorry, Steve.
Okay, and I think it was Rye who asked a question. He says it's already been answered. So
that's what we do here. We anticipate your questions. And we try to answer them. But yeah, if you've got any other questions, please throw them in the chat. We see folks are watching on Facebook, on YouTube, in the Podcast Editors Club. It's great. Yeah, if you've got questions about virtual interviews, especially for SquadCast, since we have two of the people from SquadCast right here, ask them below, and these people above will answer them.
And just in case you're watching the rerun or listening to the rerun or don't feel like asking a question live right now, we have tons of resources, and those are in the form of blog posts and YouTube videos in our podcast. So we really try to put out great content that makes it easier for you to use SquadCast even when you're not talking with me right now. We also have a Slack channel, so if you are a Squadcaster, you can join our Squad Pod Slack channel, and people share resources, they try to find guests, they try to become guests, they can amplify their social posts. Lots of different things are going on over there. So if you want to join the Slack channel, that's squadcast.fm/community. But blog is good too.
Just change the URL here.
Blog is really good too.
Oh, I can't spell that fast. Sorry. There we go.
Ooh, how'd you do that, Rock?
There we go.
Oh, no, it's not you.
I am in control of all things, and so is Mark, but
Magic.
I've got these things going on in the
We
background.
try not to fight each other. For example, while he's showing squadcast.fm/community, because Arielle, you just mentioned it, thank you, SquadCast, for sponsoring the Podcast Services Mastermind Workshop. Yes. Steve, tell us about this exclusive event happening on one day, August 23rd.
This is our next conference, which isn't really a conference. This is not a slideshow presentation. This is not stand up and tell you what how to do things. This is a sit down we're going to have individual tables. We're going to seat 4 people at a table. We'll turn people around. We'll change people around during the day, but it's going to be from 9 till 5 on August 23rd in Dallas, same hotel as Podcast Movement. Right before the evening kickoff party is when we're going to conclude. We're going to be sitting down with each other, walking through how to create our value propositions. What services are we going to provide? We're going to be talking about all the things it takes to develop a business model. And Mark's very good at business models. He designed a few hundred, I guess, for different
Almost
companies.
1,000.
1,000? There, another digit.
Almost 1,000.
I didn't carry the
Add
zero.
Add a zero.
Yes, exactly. So you're going to have an expert leading this whole thing. I'll be sitting there with you. And I've got a special guest who will be stopping in. Mark doesn't even know exactly what's going on yet because I haven't told him. But there's 2 things about Dallas that are happening during our exclusive Mastermind event on August 23rd. And thank you, SquadCast, for sponsoring our Podcast Services Mastermind Workshop. We'll be definitely looking around the hallways for you guys, for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah, and Steve, I mean, if you look at the companies that we partnered up with in order to make this happen, Focusrite for interfaces, Heil for microphones, SquadCast for conducting the interviews, and Hindenburg for editing the interviews in post. It's almost like we've picked companies that are very strong in their core competency. Kind of like what Rock was saying before, like, hey, we don't do audiograms. We help facilitate great remote interviews. And we've picked 4 great companies that really focus on the strength in their core competency and do what they do well and build upon others for great partnerships. And that's just one of the aspects that we're going to be covering in the Podcast Services Mastermind Workshop. Is where are you strongest? Where are you weak? Where are you weakest? Like talking, apparently, and how to find partners to work with. So that's happening in Dallas, Texas, August 23rd. Unfortunately, there will be no replays. There will be no virtual passes. This is an all in-person one-day event. So we hope that you can make it to Dallas, Texas on August 23rd. And see, it's got the URL there below, podcasteditoracademy.com/conference. And I guess we've only got less than 24 hours on that other URL. So I don't know if you want to share it or not, Steve. Totally up to you.
Yeah, if you're watching the live stream on the day that we're doing it, Monday, July 25th, we do have some scholarships available. So you can go apply for a scholarship. We've got a few to award. Thank you to our sponsors, like SquadCast, for pretty much taking care of all the things we needed to take care of. And now we're going to be able to give away some passes to have some people attend our exclusive one-day event. So I'm really excited about it, man. I was already excited about going to Dallas for Podcast Movement. I've got family down there. My wife's coming with me. She may not
Family
come to
affair.
Podcast. Yeah, she may not come to Podcast Movement until the very last day, but she's going to be coming down, and it's going to be exciting just to be there with all of our podcasting friends and a bunch of course, podcast editors from our community as well. Who else
Thanks,
coming from Squadcast?
thank you for making it easy to partner with y'all. Like you made it a no-brainer. You guys are doing great work in the space and really easy to partner with. So we're excited. And I think it's a brilliant idea to kind of leverage the opportunity that a bunch of podcasters and creators will be in Dallas, Texas that week. So let's get a more focused group together. So it's a brilliant idea, and just glad y'all thought of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Rock. I'll be honest, I've wanted to partner with you guys for a while, and talking with Steve here, it's like, well, what's the real tie-off with the editing community, the production community? And now with your latest update with the ability to add team member roles, and you can have like a file manager role, as you mentioned.
Yes.
Steve's like, yeah, it's a no-brainer that, our team can closely integrate with our team. Our community of 8,000 plus professional post-production professionals. I said that twice. I'll edit that and post in my own mind there. But now the SquadCast can do that. It made it a no-brainer to partner with you. So I'm glad it's finally 2022, and we get to introduce the podcast editing community to Squad. I say introduce. Let's be honest. A lot of the more active members of the community have talked about SquadCast for a while. Wouldn't you say, Steve?
Yes. In fact, we've got
Yes.
somebody who's commenting just on what they've learned today. I think they've been very impressed with SquadCast.
Excellent,
Awesome.
excellent. Even back in the day, I think a couple of years ago, when audio drift was a bit of a joke. Yeah, everyone's kind of we all know many of us that have been in the podcasting space for a few years know the whole internet and remote or interview things with audio drift, and SquadCast came out of the gate, and you didn't have that problem. So I think people noticed you right away, and you keep building upon it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you guys answered the call to that problem with audio drift. So thank you.
Well,
Or
we
the
do what we
elimination
can.
of.
Yeah. Yep. Well, thank you for being here, guys. Appreciate Arielle Nissenblatt from SquadCast and Rock from SquadCast.fm. Same place, just I used the URL for one
Sorry
because
about
obviously
that.
they're all related.
Just in case people go to the .com, I'm trying to send them the headache because they're tired of getting podcasters.
Oh, really?
I think they have like an auto send where they're, no, go here, please.
Yeah. If you're looking for audio stuff, click here.
Right.
Cool. All right. Well, maybe we should ask you real quick one last question then. How did you come up with the name?
Oh,
What's the
the
origin
name. So Zach, I think, was the one that came up with the name, but we had a few other names that we were debating between. I think it was like Cast Hub and Master Caster, and
Ooh, I'm glad we didn't do that.
yeah. Squad just sounded like it made sense. Where like, okay, what do? We help people collaborate remotely, like a squad, like SquadCast. It kind of just like passed the name test. I forget what it's called, but like to me, some names, like what do they even do? Like, not to bash Anchor, but like, what do they do? It's hard to tell, but with us, that's what we felt like it made more sense. But yeah, origin stories of names are funky.
Cool. It's good to know that. I don't think I've ever heard that story, and I'm sure it's been told before, but I've got to hear it. Thank you very much. All right, and thank you all for watching here in the various places we've got it going on. So if you haven't yet done so, check out the one-day event that SquadCast is sponsoring that we're doing in Dallas, Texas, August 23rd. We've got a whole bunch of other stuff coming up. It might be a little quiet for a couple of days because I need a nap after all these live streams we've done. But man, what a good time. We appreciate you all watching, and we will be back soon with more content to be able to help you to make better sounding podcasts.